Hey guys, how are you? I hope everyone's having a fabulous day. It's beautiful here in Chattanooga. I just had a wonderful walk. I'm making this video in the daylight. I usually make all of my videos at night. I used to do some at the park and I might do that again soon, but it's been beautiful outside, so the park has been really packed and I like to do it more when I'm going to be uninterrupted. I had some little kids walk up on me today when I was about to start. I thought about it and I was like, you know what? No. I don't want other people's kids being in my video, and I don't want to have to start over after I'm halfway in because of a child being videoed. So I did this as soon as I got home because it was fresh on my mind. I have gone to, I think, three parks mainly in the past year or so to do my walking. And the park that was closest to me when I started is the park that I had my wedding at, my last wedding. So it was close and it was convenient, but it was a circle. You can only go round and round and round, and I think I got up to like 11 laps. 11's like my number, so I got up to 11 laps, and then I got bored of that, and I moved out of that park into another park. In that park, um, it was still a circle, but it went by the water, so it was a nicer view. But I think I got up to it was a longer circle, but it was 6 laps. I think I got up to, and I did that up until it became like baseball season, and then I had some things being thrown around about me that were not true, but the person that was involved in those rumors was frequented that park during baseball season, so I made sure to steer clear so that no one could reinforce that false narrative. And then I started going to another park, which was not a circle, still by the water, but across the river from this other park. And the only reason that I'm mentioning this is because the last two parks, the first park reminded me of something that I was trying to get away from at the time. So I had some memories there that were not so great. And then the other two parks had good memories. I the next park, the one that I stopped going to that was in the middle, is somewhere that I used to go to with an ex-boyfriend of mine, and I have very fond memories of that relationship. And then the park that I go to now is the last place that I saw this person after we were not in a relationship anymore. I just happened to run into them there. So when I go those places, it brings back memories, and I just wanted to talk about it. Sometimes, when you have a song in your head and you can't get it out of your head, it's best to go, they call it an earworm, it's best to go and listen to the song, and then that way your brain is satisfied after hearing it and it doesn't replay it over and over and over again. So I got inspired by that as if this were an earworm, and I wanted to talk about it to satisfy that, and also to let you guys know about love. I talk about love all the time. I don't throw it around unnecessarily or unwarranted, and it's always sincere. I promise you that. I love everyone. I love all of you. I love love. I love love, but not the way that I used to love love. I used to love the idea of love without understanding love, and you can only love someone else as deeply as you love yourself. That's why it's very, very important to have self-love and to fill your own cup first, and to fill the cups of others with the overflow of that, to not ever be in a deficit of love for yourself so that you're pouring from an empty cup, and that you're always trying to play catch up to fill yourself up after you've given everything that you have to others, and then there's nothing left for you. You want to love yourself, to have that foundation built on self-love, built on love for God, and co-creating with Source. You want that to be firmly planted. That way, no matter what comes and goes in your life, you've always got love because you're loving yourself. You've always got God. God is inside of you. No one can ever take that away. No one can ever take that away. So that's what I encourage all of you to do. And the reason that I can love all of you sincerely at this point in my life is because I have a tremendous love for myself. My self-worth is at an all-time high, and it's never going to go anywhere ever again because it took me so long to get here. It took such work to establish that foundation, and I will never ever go back to a place where I'm expecting someone to love me to feel worthy, or someone else, looking for that validation outside of myself. Because if I don't love myself, I'm never going to find that in someone else, and I'm never going to be able to love someone else deeply because it won't have come from a place of authenticity. It's not authentic because you're not mirroring it from a place that has value, a place that is substantial, which is self-love. So you're just chasing your tail. You're just living in toxicity if you don't have genuine love for yourself and you say that you love someone else. It can't be real. It can't be real if you don't love yourself. So in knowing that, that's how you need to love other people, is to realize that if they have hurt you or they have told you that they love you, but yet their words didn't match their actions, then they didn't truly love themselves. So they can't meet you at a level of love and worthiness of that love if they don't see it in themselves. And we are all on different paths. We're all going to reach enlightenment. We're all going to reach those tower moments which break us down to our roots, to shake us to our core, to where we can rebuild. If you don't have self-love, if you don't have source connection in your being, you have to find your way back to yourself. However way that happens, we're not computers. So in our natural state of being, it's going to happen naturally. It's nothing that you can force. It's usually something you don't realize until you don't have the love of others, or until you've been hurt by others, that there was a problem there to begin with. And then you do your shadow work. You start to research where you sought validation in the past, which was your family. If you didn't get it from your family, then often you chased it in others, whether it be friendships, whether it be in relationships. I definitely chased it. I did not get it from my family. I got it from my grandmother, not in a, didn't happen all the time because I didn't live with her past a certain age. So I only saw her sometimes. And then she moved away for a little while. So I didn't always have that constant in my life. So I chased it from my dad. I chased it from relationships. I chased it in friendships. Excuse the noise, you guys. Someone underneath my apartment is doing laundry, and so it is draining, and that is the sound that you hear. It'll go away in a minute. Anyway, so I did it in an unhealthy way. Instead of pouring that love into myself, I looked for it outside of myself to validate me, to come up with my self-worth, which was very unhealthy, very toxic. When I didn't get that love that I was looking for in myself from other people, it made me very angry. It made me feel empty. I don't feel that anymore at the place that I am in my life because I always have it from myself. I will never look for it outside of myself anymore. And I know that I deserve it from others the way that I give it from myself, or it's not worth it. So I had met a person at a former job of mine who I still consider a good friend, but we are not in contact. They moved away. But he was, I think, 23 when we had this conversation. We had a lot of deep conversations, which is why I gravitated towards him so much, is that he was a loner. He wasn't trying to please anyone else. He was very much being authentic, which I loved. I don't like when people try to be fake, or when they try to put on a mask to attract others. And he was so himself, so himself. And I loved that. And he was very deep in his personality. He wasn't a chit chatter. He didn't say things just to say things, not a lot of small talk. If he let you in and you had an actual conversation with him, then you knew that you were important and that he saw value in you, because he didn't do that with very many people. So, um, also psychology major, which I was as well. So, in working together, he became like my work bestie and eventually like my bestie outside of work. And I called on him many times for a shoulder to cry on, for someone to talk things out with. We lived close together. I was going through a divorce. It was always platonic. Just want to throw that out there. But he was a late bloomer in the aspect that he was 23 and had not been in love. He had not had sex. So when he laid out his feelings, he eventually he started looking for a girlfriend, or just putting himself out there with the girls that he had crushes on and asking them out and having these first dates. And then he finally met someone that was new to our job, and he felt like he was in love with her, but she moved away. She moved back to where she had come from. And so he was very much in his feels about that. And he had this conversation with me where he said, the Tennyson quote, "It is better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all." And he asked me, is this true? Because I had been on my second marriage. I'm quite a bit older than him. So he knew with my life experience that I had been in love. And I said, I had been in love to my knowledge of love, but I had not built that self love yet. So the love that I had did not have a firm foundation. I thought it was love. I thought I could make it love, but that was toxic. But at the time, I was speaking, to him from my level of experience at the time. And I said, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so glad. First of all, my marriages produced a child, each one of them, and I love my children. So nothing can ever make me regret that. I wasn't choosing my husbands with the level of self love, so I could only love them. I was only chasing the love that I wanted from myself, from them. And when you have this self love that you should never chase. You just attract. You attract those that also love themselves at the level of self love that you have, and then you can mirror that to each other. And it's genuine. You know that it's real because you've both done the work on yourself to attract like attracts like. So I told him, even though the things that didn't work out for me, that I could not regret having fallen in love because of my children. But then I started to think about the love that I had had for other people. Now, I only thought that I had been in love with two other people. One was my very first boyfriend in high school, which was like my sophomore year. And I was with him for a long time, I think 2.5 years. And we experienced a lot of firsts together. So I felt like I had been in love then. And then someone else came to mind, and that is the person that I'm talking about having memories at the park with. And I don't talk about this person a lot. And it was um, better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all with this person. And they did mention this to me in an email that they sent me. Lord, I've only talked about this with one person, and I don't even talk to that person anymore. But here we go. So, this person I met right after I'd graduated high school, a few months after I'd graduated high school. And I graduated high school early. I started early, so I was 17 when I graduated. I could not wait because of the relationship that I had with my family. I could not wait to move out. So, as soon as I turned 18, I got an apartment of my own, and I lived by myself for a while. And I didn't really like that. So eventually I moved out of there and then did not want to go back home. I went back home very short, very short period of time, and then I moved right back out. So I lived October. I turned 18, had my own apartment, and then by the summer of the next year, I lived in my apartment for a few months and then moved back home very briefly. And then by the summer of the next year, which I was still 18, going on 19, but still 18, I moved in with a coworker and had a roommate. And I lived in a townhouse. We both worked at Walmart. I worked third shift. She worked first shift or second shift. I can't remember, but we worked separate shifts. But then eventually we took on a third roommate who also worked third shift with me. He was a guy. Um, I remember before he moved in going to the residence that he had with his parents. He lived at home still before he moved in with us, and his neighbor, someone that was right across the street, had come up while we were outside talking, and um, that is this ex-boyfriend of mine, and it was so intoxicating from the very beginning. I felt very drawn to this person. However, they were still in high school. I believe they were a junior in high school, so a couple of years younger than me. And we started seeing each other, and we didn't ever go out on actual dates, even though he could drive. I think we just rode around a lot. We didn't really do much other than go to the park and hang out with our friends, mainly at my house because he still lived at home with his parents. And then when his parents got wind of this relationship, they tried to put a stop to it immediately, and he was forbidden to see me because I was much older. I was an adult, he wasn't an adult, even though 2 years is not a big age gap when one person is in high school and the other one isn't. um, it's huge to some parents and could even be considered statutory at this day and age. But 2 years once you're an adult is nothing. But we continued to see each other throughout the summer until he went back to school, and even after he went back to school. But we had to sneak around, and I remember his dad coming to my townhouse, and he knew he was there, or thought he knew he was there, and this person jumped out of one of the windows on the second floor and then ran back home. And then another time, his sister came to my house, trying to talk sense into him, telling him not to come over there anymore. And then even after he started school back, when I worked third shift, I would come to pick him up at his house, and he would sneak out in the middle of the night on my lunch break, and we would go to this park, and we would spend time together there and other places, but mainly this one park. And um, eventually I just got tired of doing that. I got tired of sneaking around. I got tired of feeling like I wasn't worthy of his parents. I remember calling his house and pretending to be someone named Sarah so that I could talk to him and they wouldn't know who I was. I had a pager at the time. This was back when pagers were huge. Kids didn't have cell phones yet, but we would send codes to each other through pagers like text messages. I could have a full on conversation with someone by using just the numbers that correlated with the letters on the phone, kind of like a T9 situation. But we would text each other whole paragraphs in pagers and know exactly what the person was saying because our brains had been at that point conditioned to know exactly which letters corresponded to the numbers and therefore could make out what someone was saying by process of elimination. So we texted before there was even such a thing as texting, but he would always put in frog. Frog was like our code, and he would put in frog when he wanted me to call or when he was about to come by or what have you. Anyway, we snuck around for a long time, and this person contacted me um, via Facebook Messenger. And this was before I had married my second husband, but we had already started dating. And he asked me, was it real? And I was so happy to hear from him, even though we were both with different people. I wasn't trying to reconcile or get into anybody's relationship, and neither was he. He just wanted to know, was it real? And it was so real. It was so real to me. I don't know if I convinced him by what I said and how I was um, tired of sneaking around, and I didn't feel like I should have been treated that way by his parents, even though they were coming from a place of loving their son and wanting the best for him and not wanting to see him throw his future away or to put all this time into something that could be a bad influence, which they didn't really know me. I didn't feel like I got a fair shake there. But it was very real. And that took me back to that relationship when I visit those parks. When even today, when I visited the park, the place where I saw him last, I think about him. It pulls on my energy. I'm sure I pull on his energy because it was so real. But when I was growing up, my stepmom used to have this keychain that said, if you love something, set it free. If it comes back to you, it's yours. If it doesn't, it never was. And that's how I always viewed this. Now, at the time, in order to get over him, I did not pour love into myself. I did what was very habitual to me at the time without having self love, which is to jump right into another relationship. And that's probably what led him to believe that it wasn't real or that I wasn't sincere in the love that I had for him. But how I know it was real, despite the lack of self worth and self love that I had, was that he didn't want anything from me. And we both tried very hard to keep it going despite all of the things that were stacked against us. Um, at the time, he was a virgin, so he wasn't chasing sex from me. When we were together, things were just blissful. They just felt right. We were naturally gravitated towards each other and didn't need any validation from outside. Everything just felt so right. And I felt I felt loved. I felt loved by that person. So yes, it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved and not at all, even if there were no children produced, even if you didn't marry that person. If it was pure love in the natural state of being without using each other for something, without needing to show off, without needing to parade that in front of other people to get some sort of dopamine hit from that, some sort of status from it. You weren't wearing a mask when you were in that relationship. It was a taste of something that most people never find. Most people will never find that if they don't learn to love themselves. They will never find that. But without being at that level of understanding of love, we still found that. Even though it was fleeting, we still found that. And even though we went our separate ways and life took us to very different places, I think last time I had checked in on him, he's married with 3 kids. He doesn't live in this state anymore. He was very into soccer, which is really ironic because out of nowhere, my youngest child loves soccer. Even though my oldest was raised on baseball and we attempted to raise, and football, we attempted to raise my youngest, um, who has a separate father, on baseball and football, and he rejected those after trying them both out, and he loves soccer. So it's really weird. That also reminded me of him because I played soccer with my youngest a lot and bought him lots of jerseys and learned players and teams and things that I never thought that I would have to uh, research because I never thought I would have a son that played soccer, but he loves soccer. So that's really ironic. I love irony. But anyway, um, you should always appreciate those things. Never discount them. Everything happens for a reason. Every person that crosses our path is for a reason. And even though it didn't work out, it was still better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. And if it were meant to be, if the reason that we pull on each other's energy all the time and we wonder what if, maybe we'll cross paths again one day. Maybe if it was meant to be, it will come back. But always, always attract. Don't ever chase. Even though I felt that way about him, I'm never going to chase it because now that I have found the love for myself, I know that love will come back to me at the level of love that I understand it to be, and I deserve to be reciprocated towards me in the future. So I just want to tell you all about that. The unconditional love for other people will come once you have that unconditional love for yourself. And when I think about the lower vibrating individuals that I do love from afar now, genuinely, the reason that I do that is because I think of myself being that person coming from where they are, their level of understanding, and how I did not love myself. I beat myself up when I chased love, when I made mistakes, when I was younger, even a few years ago. I beat myself up. You're so stupid, Carrie. How could you have gone back to that person? How could you have believed that they loved you? How could you have believed the lies? How could you have been reeled back in? How could you have been hurt by this person when you know that they hurt you so many times before and you expected something different this time? That's insanity. I did not give myself the grace and compassion and mercy that I should have. And that's why I give it to them now, because I'm giving myself that grace, that mercy, that compassion. At this point, I'm loving little Carrie, the Carrie of the past, the Carrie that didn't know any better, the Carrie that did not love herself and should have. Those people are still there. They haven't learned to love themselves like I have, which I'm glad that I went through all of these things. I'm glad that I had those experiences so that I could understand love and love myself and have that firm foundation with self love and self worth and with God so that I can co create a beautiful, beautiful reality for me now. But I love younger Carrie. I love those people that are still on that journey, that haven't learned to love themselves because they're coming by honest. They only understand where they are. It's hard. Like I might be talking in terms in other videos like I have 3 heads because if you haven't worked and done the work on yourself, it's hard to understand things that are at a higher conscious as you. It's like they're still doing algebra and you're on calculus. That's all it is. So it doesn't bother me if someone says she's crazy, she's talking out of her head, she's whatever. No, it's just that they haven't elevated to that level of understanding. You can only meet people at the level that you understand. People are afraid of what they don't understand. I used to be the person that when I heard people talking about higher consciousness that I would say, oh, they're crazy, and dismiss it and act like they didn't know what they were talking about when really I hadn't done the work on myself to be on their level yet. And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make me better, it doesn't make them better. It just means that we're all on our own path and that we only love and understand at the level that we are at. So you can't expect someone to see you as a genius or to love you unconditionally if they haven't attained that level of understanding and level of love for themselves. So don't beat yourself up about it. Don't beat other people up about it. Don't call them names. Don't throw out hate. It just shows you where you need to grow if it triggers you. So don't be triggered by those people. Just know that you were there once and you need to show them love because you should have shown yourself love, and keep it moving. They'll get there. Everyone will get there when it's time for them to get there. And in the meantime, love them anyway. Love them anyway. And love yourself because you deserve it. They deserve it. You deserve it. We all deserve it. We all deserve it. So I just wanted to throw that out there because some people get caught in the loop. I had talked to not only the friend that didn't understand about hurting and that maybe he never should have gotten in that relationship at all because it only ended up hurting him, even though it felt really nice at the time. It taught him something. So don't regret your decisions, don't regret your experiences because they mold and shape who you are and they're stepping stones to get you where you're going to go. It's all part of your journey. And then other people get caught in the loop of love that they lost, wanting it back, trying so hard to get it back. And then they end up in that toxic cycle of making up, breaking up, or just can't get someone out of their head because they don't know about did I try hard enough, what I did wrong, what they did wrong, if only we had done this, and just the constant cycle of overthinking about why something didn't work out and what you could have done different. Just appreciate it for what it was. It doesn't have to be anything in the future. It doesn't have to be any different than what it was. It was what it was for a reason. Just let it go. If it was meant to be, it will come back to you. Sometimes people love each other in the moment and then they have to go their separate ways so they can grow and so that they can understand self love. Like with me and the ex boyfriend, if we were able to be in a relationship with each other, it would have ended tragically. We would have hurt each other so much because I didn't love myself at the level that he deserved to be loved. So without all of the restrictions, without all of the people that tried to keep us apart, it would have ended tragically. It would have been toxic eventually. So I'm so glad that it was what it was without us having to hurt each other more than what we did, because I know we both hurt in different ways. He saw me being with someone else and I let it go because I didn't want it to hurt me and feel unworthy, to feel like I wasn't good enough for someone. I knew that I was. I knew that I loved him and took good care of that relationship. But if it had not had the barriers and it were able to be deeper than what it was, I would have still hurt him because I didn't love myself enough to love him the way that he deserved to be loved. So, in essence, in our true essence, it was better to let it go. It was better to not dig our heels in and fight for it harder than we did because we needed to go our separate ways and learn our life lessons and have a firm foundation with God in order to love each other or anyone else the way that they deserve to be loved and for it not to be toxic. So think about that. Think about that. I know we all have someone in our mind that you wonder what if, or someone in your mind that you think about what you did wrong or how it hurt and you wish it could have been something else, just know that it happened for a reason. And if it's meant to be, then you needed to separate and learn different lessons for it to come back together and be healthy for you. And if it doesn't, then it was never meant to be. So don't discount love for any reason. It happened for a reason. If that's all it was meant to be, let it be a lesson. If it was meant to come back, it will, and it will be a blessing. So mull that over. I still love all of you guys. I'm not sure if my ex watches my channel or not. He might. I don't know. Hello, if you do. But if not, I'm sending all of you love and light. It's coming from a very, very warm, genuine, authentic place. I promise. I welcome you back for my next video whenever that should happen. Hit that subscribe, the like, the notification. I love you. God loves you. You're never, ever, ever alone. Bye.